Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack for Business podcast. Over 300 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game. Are you ready to discover what your Knack for Business truly is? Your hosts are Bernie Franz-Grode from Creative Insight and Wayne Pratt from Motive8U Inc.
Today's topic is clarity from chaos. Question for the audience. Are you feeling stuck in your career or business, unsure of how to transition or make your next big move? That's exactly what Wayne will be diving into in this episode. Our guest today is Wayne Pratt from Motive8U Inc. Wayne is a seasoned motivational business coach, the driving force behind Motive8U, where he empowers solopreneurs, career changers to navigate growth, transition, and clarity and purpose. As the host of the Knack for Business podcast, Wayne has led listeners through over 300 episodes across multiple seasons, sharing actionable insights and proven strategies for business success. His deep involvement in the East Trade Winds Network underscores his commitment to fostering connections and driving collaborative growth among industry professionals. Wayne, pleasure to have you here. How the heck are you, sir?
Doing really well.
Do you have a favorite quote saying you want to work off of?
It's inspired by Napoleon Hill. If you can see it, you can be it.
Very nice. So you've talked to a lot of people, both on the podcast and other people through your career. What is the biggest mindset shift that solopreneurs need to make when transitioning into a new career path?
What I'm thinking is getting down your area of genius so that you know what it is you deliver better than anyone, finding a way to price for that delivery, and making sure that you're working with other people who used to do the things in corporate that you did, so they have a seamless, flowing product that leaves the client better off.
So those people that, want to start a business, that's one element. You just touched on something, the person who's in corporate. How do you help them go from, hi, I'm getting a paycheck, I know what's happening tomorrow. How do you get them to feel they can shift gears, get out of that?
I've done several speeches on it. And one of the things that is a good barometer is joy. If you've stopped having joy in your day, it's time to plan an exit strategy. Whether you do it in 6 months because you'd really like to pay your visa, or in 2 weeks because that's what you owe the employer, you decide. But when life stops giving you joyous moments, start renewing your CV.
That makes sense. Part of that journey when you're exiting out and starting a business, you have to be able to tell a good story. Talk to numerous guests that say, listen, storytelling is really important. Know your audience, who's going to be receiving it. Sometimes even starting the story, you have to ask them what their story is. How do you set that up? How do you make that person get that sound bite down?
One of the things you got to do is take a moment, and whether you were helped out the door or you retired or you quit, take that moment to make the we into I, and then change it back to we when you're mentally corporate. But you have to decide what it is you do, how you do it well, and why you do it better than competition.
So when people are building that why, what do they often make mistakes about? What have you seen?
One of the things they do is they talk about what they delivered when they had a job, and the world's a different place when you're a solopreneur. So take a week and journal and decide what it is you actually deliver. Not what you would like to deliver, not what you wish you could pay to deliver, but what can you actually deliver?
So once you know what you're going to offer somebody, what your reason for being, what else you need? It's one thing to say, listen, I can bake a cake. But if I'm going to be selling cakes, there might be a few more pieces of the puzzle that they're going to combine in there. So what else do they have to figure out around them?
I'm not biased. I believe they need incredible mentors, people like Bernie and Wayne, who can do some coaching and handholding The bottom line is there's people that know the answers that you're looking for, and you need to ask without feeling stupid.
So it almost sounds, and speaking to the title, to get to the clarity, you're in chaos. Is the chaos then not knowing these other elements, not having your story ready? And that's where you're bringing the business lens to help sharpen the process, the message?
You make me sound so impressive. I want to actually go further back. The bottom line is there's various numbers and various studies, but they're saying that the average mind has 10,000 thoughts a day. So unless you're prioritizing and managing your results, you're going to have chaos just for showing up. I have once said that if your two challenges are getting $20,000 in sales this month and getting your dry cleaning by 6 o'clock, if you don't prioritize and manage, you won't get the sales or the dry cleaning.
The clarity of making the transition, even
Mhm.
picking a job, starting into a job, and being effective at it is being calm, planned, and know when to strike, as in good timing. It's 2 a.m. It's not the time you call a coach up and go, hey, help me. Unless, of course, your coach is awake and that's what's supposed to happen.
I don't do calm well or often. I'll tell you that. So if you're looking for calm, you're looking for someone else. But I think you're on the right track. The first thing you have to do is believe what you're saying, especially if you've been regurgitating what other people have been saying that you stop believing. You better get back to a point where you believe what you're saying and then show that you live it with your very chemistry, your very DNA, your very emphasis.
So someone is pondering this. What's their first step they should be taking? You're not having that joy piece. So you're not having that joy piece. That means you're not happy. You might not be as calm as you should be or settled. What are the first steps you should do then to start the journey?
In my humble opinion, key is get along with your brain. Whether it's a weekend away, whether it's a drive to a park, whether it is a ride to one of the incredible lakes we live on in Eastern Ontario, and then journal, talk with yourself out loud while you're writing until it all gets clearer. And by the way, it won't get clear instantly. People do have aha moments, but most of these things are banged out after a lot of work. So if you don't get an aha moment in your first half an hour, keep at it.
Why is writing so important?
Basically, it uses a different part of your brain so that your mind organizes it in a different way. When we see something written, we give it credibility. I don't know whether it's grade 4 or not, but we see it and it looks believable even when we wrote it. So that's why I know not type it, not put it in a phone. If you want to make it pretty after on the typewriter, that's fine. If you want to type it after you write it, great, but write it.
I've made the decision. I've picked a career path, a new business. A job means you're inside the business, but not thinking anything else. And it's not Monday to Friday. You always have to be on the ball about where the business is going and what roadmaps out there. But I get all past those stages, right? I reach out to the experts in my universe or some that I didn't know about. How do I get that distilled 5-minute burst of information that says, hey, I'm here. This is what I do. And ta-da.
I will start with the one line sales line that you need to master whenever you're starting a new pivot. It's very simple. If I could, would you? If I could, would you? And that's why you're asking new products, new prospects. If you could deliver, would they like to hear more? If they say yes, no, it doesn't matter, or tell me more. If I could, so you have credibility, would you know exactly where you stand with them?
So when someone is reaching out to a coach and this is their intended target action,
Mhm.
how does a coach prepare them? What's the process? Is it like a 2-minute smile, shake a hand, and you're gifted, or what?
Maybe with AI, we'll be able to do that, but not today. Usually the process starts with what would you like 2 to 3 years from now in a perfect world? Then imagine yourself in that perfect world, mentally decide to move into it. and sit down with an accountability partner. It's important that the accountability partner not be a spouse, but the accountability partner gets you past I didn't expect that. I didn't see that coming. Oh, that's interesting. And then work it through. Sometimes it's a yield sign, not a stop sign. So you find a workaround.
From our different experiences from East Trade Winds and Knack for Business, these are great vehicles for a connection and promotion. How would you prepare someone for, let's say they're going to do a presentation at East Trade Winds or be a guest on Knack for Business?
The first thing is have them actually write down at least once what it is they think they're going to say. And no, it's not going to be word for word. You don't want it to be word for word, but you've got to have them at least have something they want to say. And there are amazing hosts like Bernie who can actually weave that out of them. The first thing you want to do is write down what you want to say. Second is decide what you want them to feel. If they don't feel something, you're wasting your time and their time. And then the third thing is get it said often enough that you get rid of the ahs. Now, whether that's you and talking to your iPhone, whether it's working with Toastmasters, whether it's hiring a coach, whether it's torturing your best friend, but you got to get rid of the ahs. And then lastly, watch the language of the people you're talking to. It's tough to get feedback on audio, but find out if you're boring them. And if you are, segue into something else.
So we know that there's chaos in changing something up, right? We both know that. But what do you do about chaos around you? Like, we know that in our lives right now, there's the international stage for business is causing turmoil. And how do we get past those issues? How do we not focus on them?
Wow, I'm still learning that. So maybe you'll have to ask me again in 90 days. But I do actually have something. There's something called a locus of control. And there's the stuff that you can control, and there's the things you can't control. Focus on what you control and do it well. Are there going to be things I dread opening Facebook in the morning? But because there's things we can't control, sometimes they affect us, sometimes they don't. Focus on what you can control and then change positively what you can control.
Other things you can control, though, is realizing maybe your business is floundering. And it's not chaos by an external event such as tariffs, but it can be just a change in appetite. I'm sure the foods sold in 1920 and 1930 may not be as popular as they are now. Not that the food back then was wrong, it's just the taste changed, which means that your business has to change. How do you help the business manage? Listen, this isn't working and business is starting to decline. Cash flow is getting weak. How do you help them assess that?
One thing I learned by spectacular failure is how to do it well. Don't fear the blank page. Many of you have heard of a communication tool called Slack. It's very powerful. It's very big. It's very well respected. It was the arm that some game designers put on their business to talk to each other. The game failed miserably, but they kept Slack and it became the business. Don't be afraid of the blank page. Act with integrity. Always try to over-deliver. Don't make promises that you don't think you keep. You can even say, I will do everything in my power to, and then do it, but don't fear the blank page.
Just reviewing past sojourns. I think that at different points in time, we've come across also being a viable support. Not like you've noticed that there's been a few coaches on here. And I've said to you, all people are coaches, even if you're an accountant, right? So they want to coach you, but in a certain area. When you're in community, though, do you find then, even if it's, let's say I'm selling widgets, but you're an accountant, there's a benefit mixing and mingling and getting to know those folks too?
I thought it was important to you that I starved to death, that you found 100 coaches to interview, but
Did you coach any of them?
actually we've had so many conversations. There's a myth, and I think it's certainly in the entrepreneur, is the independent, I can do it all. And you go from independent to interdependent. So you start to share, develop, and ask questions. One thing I've done a lot of work on is helping people do connections that are mutually beneficial that 40 years ago people would have been afraid of because, oh, I can't give up my secret sauce. Face it, your sauce isn't that secret. Okay? Yeah, it's very important, and find a way in to deliver a better product with people you're working with, whether or not they're your employees or your bosses.
So you've done a career transition, whether it's getting out of a job or a business, or you got into one. How do you know you've hit thumbs up and that you're rocking and rolling? Is it an internal feeling? Is it cash flow? What?
That's the nice thing I like working with Bernie is the most linear person I know. One of the things that I'm a Jack Canfield rep, a trained rep, and Mary Morrissey and several others, your joy will give you an eternal sense of peace that you're on the right track. And then double down and do it more often. And the other thing is the people you meet hopefully will see your face and ask you why you look happier. Have you lost weight? No. You just look more. And then you say, well, here's why. The key is to do something, do it with integrity, and do it as often as you possibly can.
That reminds me of a colleague who left one corporate world. He went into a smaller one. When I saw him about 2 months afterwards, when he was in that new corporate world, I looked at him and said, "Oh, you changed." Literally, though, his face was more relaxed. But in that instance, though, you could see the level of stress that was gone on his physiology and the look on his face, his comportment, the whole 9 yards. That's always good to see.
Something that I think should be mentioned here is that all of us are stuck somewhere in grade 4. What will somebody think? And we live in just dread. Once you get free, other than a spouse, a client, or your creator, what they think is their business, not yours. Move on.
So, what's the most powerful action someone can do to get themselves going? What's the most powerful thing you can do?
Find some wisdom literature. And then after you spend some time in that wisdom literature, ask yourself 2 words. Now what? Now what? Now what? Maybe you'd have to write it down 3 times. Have action. Don't be trapped. Don't be in paralysis by analysis. What one thing can you do today or this week that is going to get you closer? The key is the action step, however small.
So, how do folks reach you? What areas do you serve? What's an ideal client look like?
One, I really recommend that you get a hold of Knack for Business and listen to at least 3 podcasts. There's right off the bat. Second, my website is motive8u.ca, MOTIVE, the numeral 8, the letter U.ca. Also, I'm on LinkedIn, Wayne Pratt, which is really easy. I basically want somebody who wants the change he's looking for and sees an after picture, whether he's leaving corporate, whether he wants to semi-retire, whether he even wants to sell his business in 3 years. Somebody who wants to make serious changes, is not afraid, and can stay the year in making the changes. The first call is free. And I also recommend you go to my website, waynepratt.ca. There's a mission statement generator there that's free. And so that you can ask yourself what you want to be when you grow up. And by the language you come up with, you'll have a much better idea of what you should and could be doing. So that's how to get a hold of me.
Excellent. What's your offer to people?
We're putting a special offer in place, 1 hour of coaching, plus listening to your pitch and honing your pitch and delivering you a video that is only $99 more than the coaching session, so that you have editable video for your pitch that you can plug in your website, in your networking organization, anywhere you want, or even just send it out in emails. A paid coaching session and $99, and it takes 45 minutes to even see if we want to work together, and that's free.
I want to say thank you so much. And you, the Knack for Business listeners, if you're in that mode where you're thinking, geez, I want to leave, I'm feeling trapped, whether it's your business or your career path, reach out to Wayne. He can help lift that stagnation for you. And he's got a money back guarantee that comes into that play. The important part is to discover your passion, because that way you remain a happy person. He also has a book out there. Wayne, tell me more about that book.
This is neat. I was taking a course to help my mother publish a book. I wanted to learn how to get this book out, how to get it marketed. I took the 8 modules, and one of them was the blank page kills the book. You stare at a foolscap for a week, and then you close your binder and you're done. And now some people are out their overview, but when I realized, he said, if you have a blog, you have a book. And they said it again. If you have a blog, you have a book. And I had been blogging for 8 years, and I curated that blog into 31 days of just thoughts of what I've seen and done and thought. It's a really interesting overview of things you hadn't thought of before. No chapter takes longer than 15 minutes, so you'll never get hemorrhoids reading my book. And I will actually send anyone on this a ebook version free, just as my gift to the listener and to the podcast, if they ask for it.
Wayne, thank you.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KREATIVINSIGHT.com. To reach Wayne at his email, Wayne@Motive8UCA. That is MOTIVE, the numeral 8 and the letter U.ca, or his website, Motive8U.ca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people: Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert; Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host; Jalvin Strika from @Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space; then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner; and Wayne Pratt from Motive8U Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer: please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.